So, after 12 episodes, it looks like Studio Mappa have finally made some changes that don't just include the ghosting and dimming. Yo, what's good? It's your boy Dudaviews, and heavy spoilers for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 13, titled Red Scale. You have been warned. So I finally bought the Blu-ray, which cost £53, which is about $67 in the US. And on the front cover, we have Nanami Kento. And just like with the previous Blu-rays, it contains more or less the same stuff. We get a mini poster of Nanami Kento, with the Blu-ray disc containing episodes 12, 13, and 14. As well as a Japanese audio disc, which is only available in Japanese, no English subtitles available for the audio disc or the Blu-ray. So unless you understand Japanese, then this Blu-ray is more or less useless. But if you're here just for the changes, then is this Blu-ray worth it? Well, without further ado, let's get on with this. Episodes 12 and 14, I'll do those episodes in a separate video, but let's get on with this. First up, as Chozo and Yuji come face to face, Chozo uses blood manipulation convergence. As that power is being activated, they remove the ghosting and dimming. The dimming has also been removed on the stop sign as Yuji tries to avoid the piercing blood. The Blu-ray added spark effects. Next up, just before Yuji punches Chozo, the Blu-ray increased the contrast on the piercing blood. And just when Yuji punches Chozo, notice how on the TV you don't see the piercing blood line coming from Chozo's hands. A blink and you'll miss it change that the Blu-ray managed to correct. Next up, as Chozo thinks back on his two brothers that were killed by Yuji Itadori, the dimming has been removed on this emotional scene of one of them tearing up. They removed the ghosting and dimming on this scene of the arrow sign popping off from the ceiling. All the dimming and ghosting has been removed of this scene of Chozo and Yuji on top of one another. Next up, as Chozo fires a massive wave of blood towards our boy Yuji, there is a quick brief flash that happens just before Yuji is consumed by that blood, where ghosting and dimming was used, as it was an awfully bright scene, but it's only really noticeable when you slow down this scene. Next up, the Blu-ray removed that subtle yellow glow that was around the blood manipulation, as well as making the red more vibrant, which makes the scene look more intense. Next up, after 12 episodes, we finally have our very first character redesign. In my personal opinion, I slightly prefer the TV version. The Blu-ray looks more simplified, but I must admit I do prefer the pose in the Blu-ray. It's more in proportion to how you would actually stand doing a pose like that. Next up, more dimming has been removed, as well as the black and white frames that appear when Yuji gets attacked. With more contrast added to the red sparks, Yuji's shoe has a different color on the rim lighting on his shoe, which was done to match the lighting in that environment. Next up, we got another redesign of Chozo. In the Blu-ray, his hair is spikier, his mouth is no longer covered by his clothing, as well as slightly enlarging some of the rim lighting on his arm and removing some of the rim lighting on his torso. More dimming has been removed as Yuji tries to walk away from Chozo's attacks. Next up, a change that, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like too much. The Blu-ray removed all the detail on Yuji's outfit, as well as adding a shadow overlay on his face, and slightly desaturating some of the rim lighting on his outfit. Next up, the Blu-ray zoomed away from Yuji's face compared to this really intense close-up shot in the TV, which was a nice change as the TV version makes Yuji's face look blurry.
油断した。もう飛び道具はないと。なんだ、どこをやられた。油断した。もう飛び道具はないと。なんだ、どこをやられた。
Next up, they reduced some of the blue aura glow around Yuji and the red aura glow around Chozo. I think I prefer the television version better for Chozo. The red glow around him makes him look more intense in the TV version. Next up, they removed the ghosting and dimming as Chozo and Yuji fist bump one another, as well as the scene of Yuji kicking Chozo. Next up, as Chozo uses his blood manipulation to create daggers to strike Yuji down, not only is some of the dimming removed, but the Blu-ray added extra shadow and shading to the characters. Adding some shading to the characters gives these designs more depth, and I love it. The designs look so much better like this. Next up, this scene of Yuji charging towards Chozo has the exact opposite changes done to them. The TV version has no background behind Yuji, but the Blu-ray there is background for Yuji. But then when we zoom towards Chozo, they darkened the background behind him. The punch Yuji gives Chozo has all the ghosting and dimming removed. As the wall behind Yuji starts to crack open as his lifeless body falls down, the Blu-ray removed the blur around the wall, as well as recoloring the lower half of the wall, as well as that the dimming on Chozo's face has all been removed as we zoom out from his eye. Next up, as Chozo was having his mental breakdown, the Blu-ray changed the colors of the rim lighting around Chozo, which in my opinion actually works well when considering Chozo's mental state. In this moment, he looks confused and his mind isn't clear.
突如、長宗の脳内に溢れ出した。
Next up, the scene of the spaghetti has a gentle soft fade in the Blu-ray compared to the hard cut in the TV version. And that's it. Those are all the major changes of episode 13. But every other scene in this episode is pretty much the same. There are no major changes whatsoever. One thing to note is that the Blu-ray has less compression, so it just looks absolutely beautiful when you play it on your HD TV. Especially this episode with all the colors and beautiful animation. In my personal opinion, this is the best animated episode of JJK Season 2 for me. Even when it aired out in the TV version initially, I loved it, and seeing the Blu-ray version, I love it even more. As well as that, this episode is the first time that MAPPA decided to go back and actually redesign some key moments. So it got me wondering, will MAPPA make any more character redesigns in future episodes? I know many fans online are quite divided when it comes to Season 2 Episode 17. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you guys think of these changes? Do you like them or do you hate them? Like this video, subscribe for more Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 TV versus Blu-ray comparisons. Stay tuned for episodes 12 and 14, which I'll be doing in the upcoming days. But thank you for watching, and as always, a boy dude review signing out.